Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
We are on episode 80 of Screwball this week, and we are coming to the end of the season very, very soon here. We have about, 12, 15 games left. By the time this goes up, it'll be even less. So we're really, really hitting crunch time, as we've talked about for the last few weeks here with September. It is really, really do or die now. You're seeing teams get eliminated out of contention, and baseball's getting very, very exciting, as is football on the other side. You have more sports to start watching. It's getting to that time of year. But with that, with the excitement of baseball, comes some potential rivalries. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. The main topic of conversation is, are rivalries the same in the MLB as they used to? Are there even any real rivalries anymore? And that's, like I say every week, Frank brings us our topic, and I'll let him kind of lead us off here. But that's kind of the basic gist is are the rivalries really like they were even in the mid to late 2000s? So let's just pick it up from there. What are you kind of thinking with the rivalries? Do you even really, think that there's such a thing anymore with team rivalries?
I think that they're there in fan bases for sure, but the players, there's just not much. You could say, oh, it's a rivalry. The Red Sox don't like the Yankees, but in retrospect, that you don't see that. That doesn't show anywhere. I think that's a problem. You don't want to just have everybody hating everybody all the time. That's not what the plan is there. But you're the Yankees, you're playing the Red Sox. I don't want you talking to them before the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you going out with them after the game. I don't want you talking to them in between games. I don't want you talking to them in the dugout. I don't care if you were teammates with them yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear that. It's a big time rivals. We've seen a little bit with the Yankees and Mets, but that was just a one-off incident. The fan bases obviously hate each other, or whatever. They have their own beef against each other, both Chicago's and stuff like that. But the teams just don't have that fight against each other like you see in other sports where, hockey they'll fight from the puck drop just because they're rivals.
Oh yeah.
Football, they know Pittsburgh and the Ravens. That's the refs know what they're getting into. They're gonna get fighting and hard hitting and a couple maybe a little later shots or a fight or taunting something.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. Baseball, you just don't quite see it. I think the closest maybe you get right now is maybe the Padres and Dodgers. They had the beginning of the year when they were both playing really well. They were kind of hating each other each day in, day out. But for the most part, you don't really see that unless it's a one-off incident. You don't see that the teams, the franchises, you don't like each other because you're on them franchises.
Right.
You're buddy with everybody. I understand if with the way that teams move and free agency and trades and prospects coming up with people, and you know him, you played with him, you grew up with him. I get that, but when you're on a franchise and you got the Cardinals and Reds, they used to fight all the time. You remember Brandon Phillips and Johnny Molina, that year they fought like 4 times. The Yankees and the Red Sox fought every day, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. You got a lot of other. The list just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yep.
You got the Chicago series, Dodgers and Giants. It's just there's so many.
Yep.
Cardinals and Cubs. You just don't see it. Not that you want to see it. I'm not saying you don't see bench clearing brawls and stuff like that. You just don't see the, almost like the emotion or the show of like, hey, we don't like you. We actually don't like you. Not like, we say, we don't like them. No, it's nonsense. You don't like them, but you're out hanging out with them. No, you don't like them. Like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
You don't even see it too much where this player doesn't like this player. And,
right.
And as a kind of a beef. CC with Jackie Bradley, it was one of the recent ones. CC just never liked him.
This is what it is.
So every time, but you don't even see that so much. It's just, it's a lot of, like everyone's the same teammate. And I get that, but it's just, it takes away from the sport. The fans want it. They want to see that rivalry. They want to see that, I don't like you and you don't like me. So let's buzz a tower a couple times or slide into second base a little harder or exchange a couple words passing by or, maybe there's a I don't know, a bat flip or something.
Mm.
It's something where it's like, okay, here we go. Or if someone does hit somebody once, something gets said. The second time, here we go. We just don't see that quite very much anymore.
It's true. I agree.
So I think we're missing that excitement part of baseball because everyone wants to see we hate you, I hate you. We want to see that rivalry. We want to see like this means more than just us. Army, Navy, college football, college anything, Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, it means more than just whoever's out in the field.
Right.
We're losing that in baseball. So it's not that those guys don't like each other, like they don't actually know each other, like each other, but you don't see it. You will never see a guy shake his hand before one of those games. You'll never see it after the game, maybe after the series. All right, it's a little bit different, but like hanging out. We used to have was it Dave Price? We went to the Red Sox. He was hanging out in the Rays clubhouse playing video games with them.
Yeah.
Like prior to him pitching that day. Like no.
Yeah, no.
Nope. I don't care that you were just on that team for 10 years. No, I don't care. I don't care if that's your mother over there. They're on their team. You're on this team. We don't like them.
Yeah.
AJ Przinsky.
Yeah.
Thought of baseball. I hate you when we're playing against you. But after that, I'll be best friends with you. But when those games start, I hate you. I can't stand you.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's definitely an older baseball mentality. There's still a lot of players that probably feel that way and probably act on that. You never want to see people get into fights and people get hurt or anything like that. There were some brawls back in the day.
Yeah. Hal McRae and Greg Nettles.
Yeah.
They just hated each other. They just slid into third base and they started fighting.
Yeah.
There wasn't even no one there. He just slid in there and started swinging.
Yeah.
Like that was that's old school. At this point in time, it's off the charts. But it doesn't mean we can't get something a little dumber down than that.
Right.
But there's something we're missing. You need rivalries. You need someone you hate. You need somebody you want to beat, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
You're in last. They're in first. I want to beat them, no matter who they are. We just don't get that. It's a little too buddy all the time in baseball, and I think you're just losing that intensity because those series bring out playoff intensity all the time.
Yeah.
You want to just fight them and beat them. I want to, if you say something to me, you do something to me, we're gonna go.
Right.
Like right there. We don't have to. Oh, it takes 3 hit by pitches and 3 series later and a year later. No, I want that where that match is about to get lit. And it takes a little bit and we're going.
Yeah. No, there's certainly some rivalries like that still. I think when the Yankees and the Red Sox are both really good, I think you can see that. Yankees and the Rays, I think are is a kind of an emerging rivalry. Giants and Dodgers is certainly a rivalry, as always has been. I think rivalries like that won't go away. Cardinals, Reds, and the Cubs and White Sox, that whole thing. But they won't go away. I think, like you said, the fan bases definitely still hate each other. You can see, especially if you go on social medias where it's kind of free reign to just talk crap about the other team. You can certainly see that fans don't like other teams. But yeah, you don't see that intensity on the field, and not that they're not showing intensity, but intensity to want to beat the other team. You see the flair when the bat flip in and the showboating shit, but it feels more individual than, hey, I want my team to beat your team. You know what I mean?
I think we see it more at the Padres and Dodgers is probably your closest, where they don't like each other.
Yeah, they legitimately do not like each other.
Walk down the field, they don't like each other. Other than that, Rays, Yankees maybe, the next one, but that's not too much of it.
No.
And it's a shame, because you're just missing that piece of the puzzle where it's like, man, we gotta beat these guys. I don't care what it takes. And I think we're just missing a little bit of that. So
I agree.
And I wanted to bring that up because we're in a playoff race, playing a lot of these teams playing divisional opponents.
Yeah,
you're taking a spot, knocking them out, and you still don't see quite that. Phillies Mets yesterday. Well, obviously the Phillies got to win. Mets still got to kind of win. They're kind of out of it at this point, but the Phillies got to win. They're in a hunt of it. But they hate each other, those franchises, and even then you don't see that. If you're the Mets, it's a bad season and all the struggles you had. You're thinking you get the Phillies coming in. We're beating them. We're not letting them get to the post. And let me tell you something. One word gets said, I'm fighting them. We had a bad year.
Yep.
I'm ready to go. I'm throwing hands. You just don't see that.
No.
And it's there's just something missing.
Yeah, I think it's just teams just generally you see players move around a lot. You see a lot of teams have a mesh of players that someone's friends with, or that they're, and they just don't want to get that competitive. I think it's just the world we're in. I think is a little bit less competitive and fiery like it used to be. And I just, again, not that baseball still has its moments. Like you saw in the playoffs last year with the Dodgers and the Padres. You saw with the Yankees and the Rays with I have this whole stable full of guys or whatever Kevin Cash said. You still see intensity, but it just doesn't feel like it's on a consistent basis. It feels like it's an isolated incident, and it could be between any two teams.
Yeah, it's not that like, oh, here we go. These guys are playing against each other. Let's something might happen here.
It's like you said with football with the Ravens and the Steelers, the teams like that.
Walking in the door is fighting.
Yeah,
that's what they do. Michigan and Ohio State in every sport. Walking in the door, you're like, here we go. This is going to be, they're going to hit each other extra hard. They're going to, might get a late hit here or there. Not saying that's, the right thing, but you just, you want to see that. Like, well, they hate each other. And they even know they weren't part of the rivalry for 150 years. But they still hate each other because they know how much it means. And the fan bases don't like each other. So that's kind of where we're at with baseball. And I just wanted to bring that up because it's been years since you haven't seen the Yankees Red Sox. You haven't really seen much fighting.
I know.
Or really back and forth. It's like Judge it is and Bogarts are best friends. I don't want to see that. I don't like that freaking guy.
Yeah.
I didn't like Pedroia. I didn't like Ortiz. I don't want him over talking to you. I don't care if he was giving you $1 million or he's your dad. No, get the hell over there. And when the series is over, maybe we'll hang out. That's fine. The series is over for now. But no, not in between games. None of that. Get the hell out of here. If I was coaching or owning one of those teams, no. Get the hell out. You'd be fined. If that guy comes over and talks to you, and you got to say something to him, like your buddy, with him, you're done. Here's $10,000. Give it back to me because you're not. We're not dealing with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. It goes a little far. I don't mind being a little bit more, showing more sportsmanship. We don't have to go all the way back to some old school baseball, but
no, we don't go to Bob Gibson where he's punching you just for saying hi to him. No, but they're playing video games.
Yeah,
the day of the game, you're pitching against that team in a division game. No.
Yeah, it's just it goes, like I said, it just goes a little far. There's certainly still rivalries in baseball, and there's certainly still fan rivalries, but on a consistent basis, I just don't. It's definitely not what it was for sure. No. I don't think it is. But
yeah, it's a missing piece baseball needs to figure out. You need to somehow get these rivalries back a little bit because it's just a missing. That definitely brings people in the doors and brings viewers in when you got someone where they're like, boy, this can go off the rails.
Yeah, I got to tune in to see what happens.
Yeah, or there's just not going to be no talking friendly. There's not a smile going around. This is on edge. Every pitch from the first pitch to the last pitch is walk-off World Series intensity.
Yep, and that's again, it's what drives viewers. So
and we've seen it after the Mets, Yankees, the last 2 innings of that game when things started getting. That's how all rivalry games used to be all the time, and we're missing that.
People just talking crap all the time to each other. So we'll see. If rivalries can reflare, and with the postseason coming, if you see some divisional games, you'll certainly still see it because the playoffs will bring that intensity out just as a competitor, whoever you're playing. But if you're already familiar with the team, it'll bring it out even more. So, if the Dodgers and the Giants end up facing each other, or if the Red Sox and the Blue Jays play the wild card game like they're supposed to, so there's potential there. It's just not what it used to be. Even if you go back 15 years ago or so, and you look at the Red Sox Yankees. I mean, Red Sox Yankees is an infamous rivalry. Don't get me wrong; it's kind of above all of them, but it's just not like how it was.
Yeah, and a lot of those players have been there for a while now. Not like for a while, Red Sox kind of had some interchangeable guys. Yankees were kind of interchanging some guys. For this point now, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on that team, both teams that are they've been there. No, okay, you're embedded into this rivalry. Like, let's go. Let's see a little something. Yankees haven't seen nothing with the Red Sox since Tyler Austin.
Yeah, Tyler Austin, Joe Kelly.
That's 10 years ago, whatever that was, 5, 6 years ago at this point. Like, I want to see just like we don't like you all the time, and it's going to take a little bit for you to slide in a second a little late or something, and here we go.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird, but you definitely still see it if you go on like Twitter or Facebook or something. You still see that.
Fan bases, they want it.
Yeah.
Players, I feel like they want it too, but I don't know. I don't know if they're not. I don't know. They're just in a weird spot.
I don't know.
I wouldn't like anybody if I'm playing against them. That's just how I like. No, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
The game's over, all that, whatever. But when we're playing against you, no, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I want to beat you. You're the competitor.
Yeah.
You're trying to beat me just as much as I want to beat you. So whatever. But yeah, so rivalries in baseball. What's gonna happen? Let's move on to the news segment of the show. This week, number 1, we have number Number 1, Terry Francona returning. Back in late July, Terry Francona stepped away from the Indians due to cited health issues, particularly related to recent surgeries, I believe on his toe and some other minor surgeries. It seems that Francona plans to return to helm the Cleveland Guardians in 2022, not the Cleveland Indians anymore, according to the president of baseball operations, Chris Antonetti. So good to have Terry Francona coming back to the game. I know people are kind of wondering where he's going to go. What's he going to do? Is the health stuff going to play in a lot? So it sounds like he's coming back. I don't know, how good the Indians are going to be comparatively to the White Sox or the Guardians. But yeah, it's good to have a guy like that back in the game because Francona at this point is a vet and he's one of the better managers you'll get.
Baseball warrior.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, good for him. Number 2, Eddie Rosario hits for the cycle. On Sunday, Braves' Eddie Rosario hit for the 4th cycle of the year on only 5 pitches. He hit an 0-1 count double, then a first pitch triple, home run, and a single to clinch it. He's the first player since 1990 to hit for the cycle in 5 pitches or less. Obviously, you can only hit for the cycle in 4 pitches.
Who hit it in 1990?
I don't know. Do you have a guess? Barry Larkin? I don't know.
1990? Free swinger? I don't even know who it could be.
Yeah. I was actually surprised. I thought it would be something like from the dead ball era, like Cap Anson or something doing it. But yeah, Eddie Rosario, 4th cycle of the year. I believe it's the Braves' 2nd or 3rd cycle because Freddie Freeman had one.
I think it's the Braves' 9th franchise cycle, I believe, or 8th franchise.
Oh, okay.
For a cycle, I believe.
Yeah, so he's in elite company with that Eddie Rosario. So good for him, and the Braves definitely need it. They ended up winning that game, which they need to keep ahead of the Phillies. I mean, got the Pirates. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they got them beat, I think.
Yeah, I think they're out of it. But yeah, congrats to him. Number 3, are the Padres going to make the playoffs? As it sits right now, the San Diego Padres are 3.5 games out of the wild card with 12 games remaining. The 12 games are against the Giants, Dodgers, and Braves to make matters worse. Sure. They now join the New York Yankees as a potentially big playoff surprise in 2021. So,
as long as with the Mets as well, I think the Mets have. I mean, if they had a good year and missed the playoffs by a little bit, it is what it is. But I think the Mets have been a major letdown too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they're hovering around 500.
I think those 3 teams you can kind of group into the same kind of.
Yeah, and really, if the Phillies overcome the Braves could join that list too.
The Braves had a decent season at the end. I mean, I said the Yankees had a decent record too. I mean, the Padres and Mets, their records aren't very good.
No, they're hovering. They're hovering. That's it.
Look at the Padres and Machado and Tatis. Padres around their organization not really happy with Tatis right now because of some of the stuff he's doing. Machado let him know, it's more than just you, bud.
Yeah,
this team who we're trying to chase down a playoff spot and you're getting thrown out of games. You got to be smart out there. Machado let him have it, and Machado was in the right there. I know people get on Machado. Maybe he's not a leader. Machado's the leader of that team. He was dead set in the right there. Put Tatis, let him know what's got to happen. And the Padres organization as a whole, I heard, is a little not too happy with Tatis as well with some of the stuff. So that's something to look for because that's the guy that's got the 4th biggest contract in all of baseball and signed for 490 years as a 22-year-old or whatever, and cover an MLB The Show, and the guys love him, and SportsCenter and MLB Network, they love him. They want to talk him up. Tatis picks up ball, and it's the biggest news. So all of a sudden now he's going to have his own organization and his own leaders on his team kind of giving him the hey and an emotional, not like a little bit, and you kind of see it's like, oh, okay, all right, we heard about it, like this was out in the open, very loud and disgruntled. I mean, that was, I think that was something. Hey, make a point, almost Papelbon-esque, but Harper years ago, where he wanted to make it a point that everyone's seen what he was going to do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So,
I'm not a big Machado guy, but he was absolutely. I'm glad he did that because he's young. He's being thrown the superstardom and the super money at him.
Machado's been there.
Yeah,
Machado throwing the bat, Donaldson. He's been through his fair share of lows.
Oh yeah,
but he knows how it is, and I think he's overcome that. We really don't see that out of Machado anymore.
No, he still has the attitude, but it doesn't come out like he used to. There's growing pains. You're a 22-year-old kid, and all of a sudden you're the biggest star in the world in baseball. Of course, you're going to be a little bit of a think who the hell you are. I like Tatis, but when you put yourself over your team, there's going to be a problem no matter who you are. So I do agree with Machado there, but the Padres overall are just kind of in a weird spot. And when you have the Dodgers, you knew the Dodgers were going to be good, so you had to keep up with them. The Giants came out of nowhere. So in a normal kind of sense, you thought you'd be in an all right spot, but then all of a sudden the Giants come out of nowhere and really make you the third place team. And
I think that's what you see with that Machado and stuff, and some of the Padres was like the frustration boiling over.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, especially the way the Cardinals are playing. They just seem on their heels. Yeah, so...
Bryce Harper's, I guess you can call them.
Don't get me wrong, I like the Padres, and I think they're a young, exciting team, and I would like to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, probably bet them just about some of the most talent in all of baseball.
Oh, yeah, and, a lot of it has gone a little bit strange this year with Snell and Darvish and injuries and this and that.
Paddock.
Yeah, so, I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but... I would like to see them in the playoffs because they always add a little bit of a spark to it, especially with this particular team. So we'll see. You can never say never, but they got a tough road ahead of them with the three playoff teams they got to play. So
yeah,
so we'll see.
Yeah, and to go into some news I have here, stick with the playoff race. We have Boston is 1 game up on Toronto for the number 1 wildcard spot, while Toronto's holding 2.5 on, or I should say 1.5 on the Yankees. 2 on Oakland, 4 on Seattle. That's where AL wildcard race is. The NL wildcard race, the Cardinals are up 3 games. 3 games on Cincinnati, 3.5 on Philly, 3.5 on San Diego. For the divisions, we have the Giants are holding 1 game on the Dodgers in the NL West, and Atlanta's holding 2 on Philly in the NL East. So those are some of the playoff races we're looking at here, coming down to the last 10 to 16 games, whoever in that span. So obviously exciting baseball coming.
Yeah.
Some other news we got here. You mentioned Rosario for the cycle. Shane Baz for the Rays, the number 1 prospect, and I think number 20 prospect in all of baseball, is making his debut tonight on Monday. So that's exciting for kind of everybody around baseball. We have Anthony Gose making a comeback as a pitcher. We already know that. But he's actually got called up by the Cleveland Indians to pitch. So a full comeback, the Rick Ankiel story. So that's good for him. That's a pretty cool story. And last bit, we have T.J. Friedl for the Reds. Hit his first hit and home run to the crowd. The 2, 20, 30-year-old guys who caught the ball got Mookie Betts' attention in right field and chucked the ball. And they said, that's the ball, that's the ball, that's the ball. Which is pretty cool. They didn't have the guys come out. I mean, not that it's wrong to have the crew or the equipment managers and stuff to come out and get you, and you can get your ball signed and stuff like that. Not that that's anything wrong, but they, hey, Mookie, threw the ball to him. He got it. He realized, this is the ball. Threw it in, turned around, waved to him. Thanks, guys. Pretty cool. Story kept evolving on Twitter. Mookie, after the inning, goes in. Next inning, he comes out. He brings a bat out. Mookie Betts had a bat. They signed it. Mookie Betts gave it to the guy, as his own thank you. So it was a pretty cool story because it was kind of evolving. I seen on Twitter as it was kind of happening. I was like, well, all right, that's pretty cool. And this next piece, that's pretty cool. And then they came out with the bat. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool thing that we don't really see too much, but it was just everyone knows the importance of your first hit and your first home run and your first game and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool to see all the way around. And a superstar like Mookie Betts to kind of step up and take charge there and give the guy his ball and get the fans something too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a cool exchange and shows that Mookie Betts is one of the most well-liked guys around baseball, and stuff like that always helps helps to fuel that. So, yeah, it was a cool story. Number 4, the wrap-up of the news. Who's doing the best right now? The Giants still own the best record in the league at 97-53, with the Dodgers still right behind them in the NL at 96-54. The Rays still own the best record in the AL at 92-58, while the Astros hold the second best record at 88-61. The Dodgers still own the best run differential at plus 249, while the Orioles still own the worst at minus 276. So I literally don't think anything changed on that list. Just a little bit of, ground made up. The Astros are a little bit closer in the top AL spot. At this point, I don't think you're going to catch the Rays with the time you have left, but you never know. That could help out the Astros, end up playing the wild card team, whoever that may be.
Sure.
So, still evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, some teams here that I got that have been hot and cold. Some hot teams. You got the Red Sox, Blue Jays, Tigers, A's, Astros, Cardinals, and Dodgers. Been pretty hot. Cardinals 8 in a row. against Cincinnati and the Padres, so that's red hot. Some cold teams: Orioles, Twins, Angels, Mets, Nationals, Reds, and Padres. Again, Cardinals on the hot list because they just won 8 in a row against the Reds and Padres, which would put the Reds and Padres on the cold list here. So they kind of go hand in hand. But those are some teams there that I got are hot and cold, and a lot of those teams are big name teams in the playoff hunts.
Yeah, Cardinals coming on strong here at the end.
Exactly what they do. And they're going to make the playoffs. They'll sneak in. They'll have Wainwright. They'll beat the guy in the first wildcard game. Flaherty come back. There they go to the World Series.
Yeah.
Seen it before.
Yeah, they
million times. Dave Freeze home run. Here we go.
they tend to do this stuff like this.
06 they were not good, and they went all the way to the World Series and won the World Series. So I mean,
they always find a way.
Yeah,
there's always something with them.
Never count the Cardinals. I never do.
Yeah.
I had told somebody a month and a half ago. I said Cardinals beat the playoffs. It's like, yeah, you're mine. I'm like, that's what they do.
Yeah, it's just
3 games under 500. I'm like, they'll be all right.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, no, that's cool. Cardinals are looking at a playoff spot, while the Padres are on the outside looking in, and the Reds are on the outside looking in, a team that looks pretty strong all year. So the wild card races are really the things to watch right now, for sure. Let's move on to the Who's Hot and Who's Not segment of the show, the hot and cold players. The 2 hot players I have first are the players of the week. So number 1, Jose Ramirez was the AL Player of the Week, batted .500 with a .900 slugging and a .1460 OPS over the last week. The NL Player of the Week was Tyler O'Neill. Makes sense with the Cardinals. Batted .368 over the last week with an .895 slugging and a .1349 OPS. Number 3, Adam Frazier, batted .478 over the last week with a .522 slugging and a .1042 OPS. Next is Eddie Rosario, batted .471 over the last week with a 1,000 slugging and a .1526 OPS. Number 5, Juan Soto, batted .471 over the last week with a .706 slugging and a .1271 OPS. And finally, Bryce Harper, batted .450 over the last week with a .900 slugging and .1471 OPS. Harper's just been on a tear all year, it seems like, and definitely giving the Phillies their best shot at the playoffs here.
Sure. Some other guys here I got in the hot list. Elvis Andrus been playing well. Josh Bell has been playing really well ever since really April, but of late, I think over his last 20, 30 games, he's batting over 300. And Freddie Galvis, another one that's been hitting the ball pretty well over the last 7 to 10 days. Some pitchers that have been doing good. Willie Peralta pitching well. Max Fried, Yu Darvish, Robert Ray is, I think, your AL Cy Young front runner at this point. And Michael Fulmer, a couple innings last week and a couple saves for the Tigers as a closer there.
Pretty good.
So there's some pitchers who are doing well too.
Yeah, good for them. Let's move on to the cold players of the week. I have 2 players here that were ice cold. Abraham Toro, batted 0 over last week with a 0 slugging and a .050 OPS, 0 for his last 19.
Oh, good.
Number 2, Max Kepler, also 0 average, 0 slugging, but a 158 OPS. He was 0 for 16.
Not good.
No. Number 3, you have Trent Grisham, batted .059 over last week with an .059 slugging and a 241 OPS. Number 4, Lewis Brinson, batted .095 over last week with a 143 slugging and a 279 OPS. And finally, number 5, Jonathan Scope, an .095 average with an .095 slugging and a 335 OPS over the last week. So again, 2 guys very, very ice cold, but all these guys under 100 average, so you never like to see that out of a player. So
No.
Not great.
No, not at all. Some other players who have been pretty cold here recently: George Springer, Robbie Grossman, and Carter Kieboom, who has not been able to hit the ball ever in the majors after being, I think, a top 5 prospect in all of baseball.
He was.
So that's kind of surprising, at least a little bit. But there's some other guys who have been not hitting the ball well. Some pitchers who've been struggling. Wade Miley kind of knocked himself out of the NL Cy Young race over the last 3 or 4 starts. Zach Greinke got beat up. Garrett Cole knocked himself out of the AL Cy Young race, I think, or at least knocked him down a peg. Patrick Corbin, terrible all year. And Kyle Hendricks has been just these couple of good starts, couple real bad starts. Right now he's in one of those couple real bad starts. I think he's a 12-year ERA over his last 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
So those are some guys not doing so well.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, they probably didn't win with, if he has a bad start, Kyle Hendricks, and the Cubs really don't usually do well. But the Cubs' offense has been ridiculous lately, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a couple of young guys, Frank Swindell, I think his name is.
Yeah, and Patrick Wisdom.
Patrick Wisdom broke the record for the Cubs, and they're playing some teams they expect to beat, Pirates and teams like that. Which there's nothing wrong with that. You got to beat them, but Marlins. And so, yeah, they've been, at least somewhat more competitive than expected. But when they lose by a lot.
Oh yeah.
But then when they win, they score 9 runs and they give up like 4.
Yeah, it was just a little surprising. I was just I don't know why I was just keeping an eye on them, and they just seem to be just hitting. Some days just hit the cover off the ball. It's just I don't know.
Blowing out in Chicago.
Yeah,
that could be, so.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, to get into our next segment here is some injuries, and that is on the shorter side. Probably the shortest list we've ever had here, which is great. We have Ryu placed on the IL with more, I think it was like neck stiffness or back stiffness, nothing real major. We have Gregory Soto shut down for the year for the Tigers. Obviously, they're only 2 weeks out from the season being over, but really a big name for the Tigers. Pitched really well for them. Jacob Rizzi placed on the IL for the Astros. Jesse Winker on the IL for the Reds. Bellinger was day-to-day with a rib injury. I believe he fractured his rib. He's going to play through it, but he is day-to-day right now. He's probably been the worst position player in baseball this year. For an MVP-type player to be batting 140, if that is yeah. So they decided to move on after this year. I heard already stories about that with their guys for free agency, so that's something to take note of.
Yeah.
Jake McGee placed in the IL with the Giants, obviously a big loss for them. And Arrieta, again, hurt for the Padres. The little bit of hope they thought maybe they signed him and he could find something has been just awful. Probably just actually hurt them picking him up because he's been hurt and terrible the times he's pitched.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's all the injuries, the newer injuries. On the good side of things, for the most part, Wander Franco's progressing. Chris Sale was on the COVID list, came back, won on this past Friday. Joey Gallo missed a game or two with neck stiffness. He is back in the lineup. Mike Trout shut down for the year. Joe Adele shut down for the year. Chris Bassett, after getting hit in the face, will expect to be back this week, so it could be a little boost for the A's down the stretch run here. And Johnny Cueto progressing. Hopefully he can be back here in the beginning of the playoffs for the Giants, if not right before the playoffs.
Cool. It's always good to have a short injured list for sure, especially when we're getting close to the playoffs. You don't want to all of a sudden lose a guy on something that would in the middle of a season be fine, but all of a sudden now you only have a month or two of baseball left. You don't want to,
especially if you're a pitcher, because then you get rebuilt up. The minors pretty much over too, so you got no minor leagues. So yeah, it's a tough spot to get hurt here.
Sure.
But, the list has been short, and I think people know that playoffs are coming around, so I got to be healthy. Even if I'm hurt a little.
Yeah, even if it's the dog days and I'm really feeling like I got beat up, I've played 150 games or whatever,
Yeah. But to get to our last part, and that's the best part, I think, of the show, right? That's what it says.
Yep.
That's the trivia question. So this week's trivia question is, which team had the worst record to make the playoffs in a conventional, no strike, shortened, or just short season? So COVID season doesn't count. The strike 94 or the strike in 04, they didn't have the World Series or something like that, 1904. And I believe it was 91 or 89 or one of those years they had the middle of the season, they had shortened season as well. So in a conventional, non-strike, non-shortened season, who had the worst record to make the MLB playoffs?
It's a little tough, especially if you can name the year.
Sure. And the answer is the 2005 Padres won the NL West with an 82-80 record, and they were swept in the NLDS, as expected.
Sure.
I believe no other team in that division had over 76 wins at the time. There were some other teams that had worse winning percentages because of strike shortened seasons or whatnot. There was one year, I believe 94, they said that the AL West, there wasn't a team that was within 10 games, or they were 10 games under 500 was the best team in the AL West, I think.
Oh my God.
94 strike season.
Jesus.
So there were some teams, the Mets were close in the 70s, and the Cardinals, we mentioned earlier, I believe they were only 3 or 4 games over 500. They made the playoffs in 06. They won the World Series.
Yep.
Of course, you had Albert Pujols and Edmonds and guys who were just monsters, but sometimes a team like that can sneak their way in and then go nuts. But, so trivia question, which team had the worst record to make the playoffs in a conventional non-strike or non-shortened season? The 2005 Padres won the NL West with an 82-80 record, but then were swept immediately in the NLDS.
Well, no surprise there, getting swept. I didn't really guess it at first. It took quite a bit of guesses, and there's still only 30 teams you could guess, so, you're eventually going to get it. But, yeah, unless you're a Padres fan, which would make sense, you would know that, or if you're just a super uber baseball trivia guy or something like that, I
remember them making the playoffs, but not a great team. I didn't know they were the record at the time.
Yeah.
One division, I didn't really recognize that either. Think a wild card, okay, maybe they sneak in, but, they won a division there. makes sense. The division was weak. Rockies weren't quite there yet because of '07. The Rockies went nuts.
Mm.
Dodgers were always really fuddling around ever since really the '90s.
Yeah.
At that point, late '90s to all the way till like the tens.
Like 2010, 2011,
They
yeah,
were
when
really
Kershaw
just
came
fuddling
on.
around.
Yeah.
Giants were just coming off of their highs. They were, JT Snow and the fellas were kind of going away from the team.
Mm.
Barry Bonds getting older and steroids and stuff like that. Diamondbacks, obviously, I think Randy Johnson was gone at this point, and you're kind of losing. Kurt Schilling was gone, so you're losing your guys there. So it makes sense that the division was kind of weak. It makes sense they probably only made the playoffs because they were playing their division.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of that team had, I believe, Brian Giles on it, who was a really solid player, and Jake Peavy, who was just great. Other than that, I don't even know if Heath Bell was there. I mean, you really didn't have much of that team.
No, not much to get really behind.
But that's a franchise who deserves a playoff run, at least make the playoffs every once in a while at that time. So it was pretty
I guess
cool.
you had, I don't know if you said it, I guess you had Trevor Hoffman, right?
I don't know if he was with Milwaukee at that time.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget where he was in 05.
90 years old, but but they just weren't very good.
No.
But they made the playoffs, so that was good for their fan base.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit tougher one. Like I said, I mean, I guess if you guess enough times, you can eventually fall into it like I did. But I would have thought it would be a wild card team. My first instinct was to just think of a wild card team that went to the playoffs. But being a division winner with 82 wins, there's some divisions in baseball.
Storage franchise.
Yeah.
Storage franchise in that division. The Giants and Dodgers. There's two storage franchises.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think one of them is always kind of be at least 86, 87 wins. You think.
Right. Rather than
Than 82. Even if it's only a couple games better, but just looks better. Oh, all right, they have these.
Yeah. If they made the playoffs, then you were at or below 500. So that's not a good year by any stretch.
No.
So, yeah, that's a good one. The Padres. I don't know if they're looking at that kind of record at this point. They might be.
Pretty much, but they ain't making the playoffs with it.
No, not with the Dodgers and Giants right above them. The two best teams in the NL. Sometimes it works out that way, where you just get kind of the shit end of the stick. Look at the NL East is not really super competitive. Could have been really could have been up for anyone's, for grabs for anyone if they just had a good year, really good year.
That's why they want to expand playoffs. They added the wild card teams so that the good teams make the playoffs, and a couple bad teams make it. That's okay, or a couple okay teams, I should say. But at least the good teams make it. So
sure.
That was kind of their whole plan back in the day, and still now to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense, but we go down that road all the time too. Do you do it? Do you not do it? But that's kind of the idea behind it. Is these ideas right here.
Mm.
Bad teams making it, or okay teams making it, and good teams not making it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think the team with the worst record this year would maybe come out of the second NL wild card, or maybe the second AL wild card, maybe the NL East. I don't know where the Braves are at.
88 wins.
Yeah, they'll probably get you.
86 wins, 87 wins, and that's not a bad year. 90 wins is a good season.
Yeah.
How it is some years, though.
Yeah, you get hot for the playoffs, anything can happen.
Imagine the White Sox are just not in that division. Then you we win a division with, 3 games under 500?
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so anything can happen. So.
Yeah. But that's all I got for this week. We're really, this is really crunch time now. I think, like I said, by the time this goes up, maybe under 10 games for the year, which sucks because I don't want baseball to go away. But, it now brings the best baseball out. This is like starting, September and on to the end of the year, you have your best baseball. So.
Yeah, this is where, everyone remembers the big games and the big moments. The Brett Phillips flying around in the outfield. The Rockies, 07, winning about 40 games in a row to make the playoffs. What the Cardinals are trying to do right now. It's just been, this is when, the cool stuff happens, I guess you could say,
Sure.
I mean, how many, the David Freese home runs, the Mark Teixeira home runs, the Luis Gonzalez bloop hit, Edgar Renteria, all his hits, he's done it like every year in the playoffs for 6 different teams. It's just when all the cool stuff happens.
Even outside of the playoffs, you have Evan Longoria hitting the home run against the Yankees to go to the playoffs. You have
Matt Holliday not touching the plate, right?
You have the Rockies. You have the Twins winning Game 163 to go, in 09, I think it was.
Lucky Dent, you want to go 100 years back.
Yeah, I mean, there's this is the time of the year where you could really, and the way the wild card's looking, you're probably going to see games like that, just pre-playoff games, So, good luck to the teams. By the time we come back, we'll be looking at the last week of baseball, and we'll have divisions locked up. So some teams will be on cruise control to the end of the year, but the wild card teams, it's looking like are going to fight right to the very end. Sure. And sometimes those are the worst, the teams you don't want to face.
No.
You know.
No, especially if you're a team like a White Sox who kind of been an easy riding all year, and then you get a team that's scratching and fought all month, 2 months to get into the playoffs. And now they're like, okay, this is nothing new for us. And now all of a sudden you got to try switching, hitting a switch. Sometimes it doesn't happen for you.
Yeah.
But they got Tony La Russa and a bunch of real good guys, so I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about.
And you get a 5-game series too. It doesn't give you too much time to kind of figure it out. 7-game series, like, all right, we got a game or two. 5-game series, you lose 1 game. You lose 2 games, you're about done.
Yeah, that's it. Then you got to win 3 in a row, which is not the easiest thing, especially against a playoff team. So, So we'll see what happens. We'll do one more episode for the regular season, and then we'll start. Probably do our playoff predictions, and then that'll bring us to the end of the year, and then we'll compare what we had at the beginning of the season to what we had at the end. It's just probably not close.
No, might get one award right.
Yeah, I didn't get. I definitely didn't get the AL MVP. I think I picked Trout. That went right out the window, even though he was playing good at the beginning of the season.
I would have had a Cy Young, but Glass now blew his arm out. I had that.
Yeah.
He was winning Cy Young. I think it was pretty easy.
Yeah, and thanks to the Yankees being in the division they're in, and the Giants going insane in the West, and the Brewers in the Central. My parlay's not looking good.
No, mine's out the window.
Yeah.
I had Matt Olson leading the league in home runs. I mean, he put up a good fight. 36, 37 home runs right now.
Well, when you got Salvador Perez breaking the catcher record, and you got Ohtani going nuts, and Vladimir Guerrero at the age of 22.
Marcus Semien over 40 home runs. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, those are guys that you don't expect him to, all
Yeah.
of a sudden he's going nuts. But
Yeah. What are you going to do? It's hard to predict baseball. It really is.
Oh, my God, yeah, it's the hardest. But other than that, no, not really much else to add. We're coming to the dog days, obviously, or the end. Just to take a good look at Albert Pujols in his last couple games here, for possibly. So just get a good look at him if he's on TV and he's playing. You never know, he might be at form. So just get a good look at him. And other than that, football's been chaotic so far too. The Raiders 2-0, beat Pittsburgh, and looking pretty good.
Yeah. So you got good stuff to look forward to for the baseball and football.
Yeah,
and
Mike's Giants are playing all right. They're just
terrible.
losing every game how you expect them to, blowing the game, offsides, all that crap. So Giants are mid-season form.
Sure.
Raiders are playing well. We don't see that much. So all is crazy in the world.
Yeah, especially baseball too. The season makes no sense in a lot of ways. So
I think football's gonna have a season like that too.
Yeah, I don't know what's in the water or what happened with COVID. Teams just started going nuts that didn't expect to go nuts. Like look at the Giants and the Mariners are even out on the outside of a wild card.
Close, right?
Yeah,
they had injuries too. It looks like they're perfectly healthy. Kyle Lewis. I mean, there's your superstar, Jared.
Kyle Lewis, James Paxton, and Ken Giles all right out the window.
And Kelenic, it was really terrible till now.
Yeah. So, weird season. Weird year. But I like it. It keeps you on your toes as a fan.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But yeah, that's kind of all I got. So if that's it too, then we'll just wrap this up.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.